This episode of the Julian Dion Comedy Hour podcast is brought to you by Echo One Photography. Are you in the Greater Toronto area and looking for some headshots or really any photography needs fulfilled? Well, look no further. Echo One Photography does it all, from headshots for actors and comedians to corporate headshots, even social and dating website profile pictures. That's right. Don't take a selfie. Get it done by a professional. Increase those odds. They'll do it all. Product photography for your business, for e-commerce and advertising purposes. Once again, Echo One Photography does it all. Email Eugene at echo1photography.com today. That's Eugene, E-U-G-E-N-E, at echo1photography.com. Enter JDCH in the subject line.
Message to my mom. Message to my mom.
This is a message for my mother, who's now on Facebook and online, so may very well have stumbled upon this podcast. So, Mom, if you're listening, let me first say that I love you very much. You're a great mom, always have been and continue to be to this day. And secondly, let me ask you to please not listen to this podcast. You know, this is a comedy podcast. It's uncensored. I interview comedians and other creative, fascinating, interesting people, so I don't have any control over what's said. We might discuss some not-so-tasteful topics and have some salty language peppered in there, so you might not like what you hear. So please, I beg you, if you're listening, please turn it off. You know, they say to truly become a great artist, you can't care what other people think of you. And that really begins with your parents. You cannot care what your parents think about your output to truly reach your full potential. So I ask you, Mom, please let me be great by not having to think in the back of my mind that you're listening to this. And if you do choose to listen, just know that I love you very much.
Message to my mom. Message to a beautiful waste of time. A waste of time. A beautiful waste of time. A waste of time.
Yes! What is up? Welcome to episode number 3 of the Julian Dion Comedy Hour podcast, coming at you from Lemon Press Studios in the Distillery District, downtown Toronto. Hey, we're back. This train's moving. Thanks for listening again. Cannot thank you enough. I do this for you, after all. You, right now, that's listening to this. Maybe you're gardening. Maybe you're cleaning the house. Maybe you're driving a rig. Who knows? I don't know what you're doing. Let me know. Let's say this. Let's do that. I want to hear from you. Because I was looking at the statistics of downloads and there's some listeners in the States, in Ohio, and people in the UK, a couple listeners in Germany, a lot of people in Canada, Toronto, Ontario, the West Coast, the East Coast, of course, where I'm from. Thanks for listening wherever you are. So I do want to hear from you. So email me. Email the show at pod@jdcomedyhour.com. That's pod@jdcomedyhour.com. Tell me about you. I want to hear about you. Also, be sure to subscribe on iTunes. This is how we jack up the ratings, how we get the show to make the top comedy podcast. I need you to subscribe and comment on the show. You need to comment. You don't need to, but I ask you, please comment on it if you like it. If you don't like it, Keep your comments to yourself. It's selfish. All right? Nobody needs that. Comment, rate, share, spread the love. But most of all, email me, pod@jdcomedyhour.com. Tell me where you are and a little bit about you, and I'll share it on the podcast. Sure, why not? Let's do it. Let's roll with it. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for everyone that showed up at Say What this week on Wednesday, September 24th for the Julian Dion Comedy Hour, the live show. We had Garage Baby there in full form. We had a great night of stand-up comedy. A lot of fun. We had a really, really good show. We had Dave Martin, Alex Wood, Rob Mayu, and Brian Hatt on the show. It was a good, silly old time. Garage Baby killing it at the end of the show with a few songs. They're so good. I'm so thrilled to have them in my world. Oh, right there, as the song ended. That was poetic. Anyway, so thanks, just a bunch of thanks all around. How you doing? What's going on? Email me and tell me. So I'm just shaking this audition feeling. I'm not going to talk about it too long because the last show I talked about auditioning and I just got back from another one, and it's pure torture. I know it's all my choice, my quote unquote destiny, I guess, if you want to be cheesy about it, to be in show business. Like, I love it, but at the same time, it's pure torture. Always nervous, whether it's doing stand-up gigs or waiting to go into an auditioning room where I have to be silly in front of strangers that will judge. It's always judging. Just in the limelight, just being judged, and it's just constant torture, just ulcer. I must have like 18 ulcers in my stomach because I'm just nervous all the time. I got to balance that shit out with some meditation or yoga or something. I got to figure something out because it's a lot of stress. And it never sort of goes away. 8 years, which not that long in this business, but 8 years, and still, just most of the time, I'm in a situation where I'm nervous and scared shitless. I miss the days where I could, all I want to do is go home and smoke a joint and do nothing. But that leads me nowhere, as I've seen in the past, which is why I don't do that stuff anymore. But I still love it. And if you are, by the way, I actually recommend you smoke up if you're gonna listen to this. Do it up. I'm a fan of it. I just can't do it myself, but do it. Dive in. Tune up and tune in, as Mike Bennett said, my guest on episode 2. I talked to him at Say What Wednesday night, and he said, I'm going to go home and tune up and tune in his great baritone voice. I was like, I'm going to use that. That's going to be in the podcast. So tune up and tune in. Hit that shit. Smoke up or don't. Do whatever. If you're driving, don't do it. But I just miss the days where that's all. I was nervous when I did shows and stuff. The only real times I was nervous is when I would run out. And my only major concern in my life, my major goal, was to just get more. And I've been in some pretty funny situations trying to get the weed. You have to add the in front after you quit, like you're 87 years old. The weed. Some pretty interesting scenarios when you're... Like, I lived in New York City, like I mentioned before, and it's sort of it's really taboo there. And I remember I'd been living there for about a few weeks, about a month and a half, and I figured, how can I get my hands on the weed? So my roommate and I started looking and made this contact. Oh, this is how it happened. I made a joke about it on stage at one show, and so someone came up to me after and said, "Oh, this woman," she's like, "Do you have a contact yet in the city?" I said, "No, I'm from Canada. I just moved here, and so I don't have a contact." So she's like, "I'll hook you up. Here's my friend, Khalil, and message him, and he'll all you have to do is text, and he'll deliver." I'm like, "Geez, this is perfect." And so nervously, I messaged this guy, Khalil, one night, and I didn't want to give my home address. I didn't want him to come over my place. So I went to a dive bar just down the street. No Partners was the name of the place, and I went there, and so I text him where I am. He's like, "All right, I'll be there in 10 minutes." I'm nervous. I'm in New York. in Astoria, Queens. I don't know what to expect. I'm waiting for weed from a stranger. And there's a Class A narcotic. If you get caught with it, that's it. You're fucked. So I'm waiting, and I get a text back from Khalil. I'll be there in 2 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'll meet you outside. And he's like, I'll be the guy with the black Yankees hat, the black North Face downfill jacket, and the black duffel bag. He could have just said black. Looking for a black guy. And I said, I'll be the guy with the long blonde hair and mustache. A little bit scared. And so I walk out of No Partners, and I turn left, and he's sort of hanging out by leaning against the building. And so I see this guy, and he's like, all right. And he does the handoff where he's, he's got the product in one hand and I have the money in the other, and we're walking side by side, and we're just supposed to just shake hands and do the exchange. But I couldn't have been more white in that moment. We're walking side by each, and we shake hands, and I'm trying to do the exchange, and it's not happening. I'm like fumbling around, so I'm walking down the streets of New York City and Queens, hand in hand with this drug dealer. Big guy. For about 10 seconds, finally the exchange happens, and he goes, thought that was embarrassing enough. He goes, shit, man, you've got long-ass nails, motherfucker. You scratched the shit of my hand. You scratched the shit out of the inside of my hands, was his words. I'm petrified. Opposite of cool. And he's like, man, are you a musician or something? So I panicked. I said, yes, I'm a musician. That's why I have freakishly long fingernails. That's the thing with my fingernails. They're always, they grow at an alarming rate, and I always notice in an embarrassing like I won't notice when I'm, coming out of the shower in the morning in my bathroom. I'll notice I'll be like in an important meeting or something, and my hand's on the table, and I'll just look down at these long, feminine-like nails sticking out. I'll tell you this other story, actually. This other time of buying some of the weed, the marijuana. I was in Vancouver, and I'd message, what you do as a comedian is when you travel and if you smoke it, you go to, you just basically, you try to find, you message comedians that smoke it when you're in their city and say, can you hook me up with a little something, something. So I'm in Vancouver, and I messaged this comedian that I knew partook, and so I call him, or I Facebook him. I need a hookup. And he's like, oh shit, I'm out of town, but here's what you can do. And by the way, I should say I've never told this story to a single person. The only person that knows is myself and the person that provided me with the happy herbs. And so I'm in Vancouver, and he goes, all right, I'm out of town, but here's what you can do. You can go to these two hostels downtown. You can go to the first one and just hang out by the ATM machine. Just hang out. And there's a guy there. He'll eventually approach you, and he'll sell you the weed. So I'm like, okay, that sounds shady. But he's like, don't worry, I won't lead you astray or in any danger or anything like that. Just trust me. If that doesn't work, there's another hostel in Vancouver's East End, which, if you may know, is a little shady, to say the least. So he goes, so if that doesn't work, go to the second hostel, and you want to walk in through the back doors. And you want to walk in with money in hand, so they see, that you're trying to buy drugs, and so someone will eventually approach you. Same sort of thing. I'm like, all right, I got this. So I go to the first hostel, go to the ATM machine, take money out. Ignorant. I could have been just, robbed at any point. What's the word I'm looking for? Mugged. I go there, I hang out, nothing. People are asking me if I need drinks or stuff, because it's in a bar, and it's the afternoon, sunny afternoon in Vancouver, and I'm just there. And this, no one approaches me. I circle the building, go back in, nothing. So I'm like, all right, I'll try the option number 2. So I go to the East End, and I go to this hostel. I walk in through the back. I have $40 in my hands. And I'm walking like straight arm in front of me, basically, with 220s poking out of my hands between my thumb and index. Clearly incognito. And so, and I don't understand how they don't bust these people. Anyway, I digress. So I walk in, nothing. And it's a packed bar in the afternoon, just a lot of alcoholics. And there's people outside by I thought the back entrance would be like this hidden thing. There's like 4 or 5 guys just hanging out having cigarettes by the back door. So I walk in. I'm super scared, by the way, at this point. I'm freaking out. So I walk in and nothing. I don't get any. There's nobody. So I circle the bar, go in the men's room. I'm like, shit. This isn't happening. So I walk outside. I'm like, I'll try one more time. I go in, scared, circle the bar, nothing. So I leave again. I'm like, fuck, this isn't working. Why didn't my buddy say this to me? Third time, walk in, circle the bar, go in the bathroom, circle the bar again, leave. I imagine I look super sketchy, by the way, to anyone working in there. Although I was probably the least sketchy person in that bar. So I leave. As I'm leaving, I hear, hey, hey, hey. I turn around, scared, and this guy is like, you looking for me? I'm the weed guy. He's yelling this. I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for you, but I thought we had like to do this secrecy thing. So he's like, I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for you. He's like, cool, what do you need? I go, $40. He's like, oh, wow, okay. I'm sure he's used to $5 or $10 sales at a time. So I go, $40. So he hands me the thing. I give him the thing. And then I get so excited that this has gone down. I just, all of a sudden, all fear goes away, and I feel like I've made a connection with this guy, and we're friends. I'm like, cool, man, thanks a lot. So how's business? And before I said the word business, he turned around and he was gone. So I proceed to then full sprint to my car. Not out of fear, just happy and, all right, I got to get out of here. But that, I just wish I could have watched that from like a perspective, like if someone was sitting in an adjacent park across the street. Adjacent, is that the word? Adjacent, that's the word. Sorry, I'm French. Adjacent. Anyway, park across the street. I just wish someone could have like videotaped the whole thing of me sheepishly going in 3 times, on my way out the 3rd time, get hollered at by this guy, turn around, do the thing, try to break into friendly small talk, chat this guy up, and then convert into a full happy sprint to my car. I left, and that was that. I guess in retrospect, thinking back, it's the grass is always greener thing because, no pun intended, because I guess I was in situations back then where I was just as nervous as I was for my audition today. I guess I just have to accept that no matter what path I take, I've chosen a life of fear and nervousness. I just need to learn to enjoy my life. That's it. All right, that's what I've got for you today. Time now to introduce a brand new segment to the Julian Dion Comedy Hour podcast. This is a segment where I basically just take a minute or two and blast through some of today's headlines. It's called Flash News Flash.
And now, Flash News Flash with Julian Dion.
Fox is airing a new stand-up series, but they're not paying the comics. Slate.com reads, Laughs is a new comedy showcase series airing on 11 Fox TV markets nationwide. It premiered on August 2nd, and it's running on Saturdays at 11 p.m. or midnights in most markets. Each half-hour episode features stand-up performed in clubs all across the country. The show is part of Fox's new minor league-style in-house development plan, in which affiliate stations crank out first-run syndication shows so cheaply that the production costs are practically guaranteed to be offset by ad revenue. If a show takes off, they'll make a bundle. But the shows will be profitable regardless of ratings, even if they only pay in a few cities. How does Laughs keep its costs down? It's simple, by not paying the comics. See, this is nothing new in stand-up comedy, which is frustrating, it's aggravating as a comedian, and I can't wrap my head around it because people tell you all the time, they approach you, wow, you're a comedian, that is so hard. I can't imagine doing stand-up comedy myself. That is such a hard, scary thing to do. And then when you tell them that you ask them to pay you for it, they're shocked. What do you mean? I'm not going to pay you for it. You should do it for free. You're a clown. Just stand in the corner and do your thing. Make me laugh. It's really hard, but how dare you ask for any money? And Fox, which is a giant TV conglomerate, is doing this show and not paying their comedians. What's the point of comedians trying to get bigger and better opportunities if they're not getting paid for it? Well, the age-old answer is always exposure. Well, you're going to get that exposure. Well, fuck exposure. Pay us. And you know what else is the problem with this? Is that no matter what, no matter how many comedians boycott things like this and decide to say no, they're better than that, and they will not work for free, there's going to be a lineup of comedians back there waiting to take the work and jump on that quote-unquote exposure. In any case, it's wrong. You should get paid for our art. This is complete bullshit. All right. That was Flash News Flash. I'm not sold on that one. I'm not sure. I said headlines. I did one headline. Just testing the waters. I think the best part of that segment was the jingle. I'm not sold on Flash News Flash. We'll see. Maybe I'll bring it back. Who knows? Just testing the waters here, folks. This is episode number 3. It's experimental phase. We're evolving. We're finding our own. All right, let's get to my guest today. I had a great chat with Dylan Mandlsohn, who's a really talented comedian. He's been all over the place. We chatted about his recent breakup. That's always awful to go through. He's recently single, and we talk about that a little bit and the pangs that come with relationships. And we dive into, he's done some cruise ships. He's got some pretty interesting stories about that. So we'll get into it. Enjoy my chat with Dylan.
You and me belong, just like the flowers, laughing all day long. People, I need you loose. Sing a little song, then take a shower. Julie and Dion, comedy hour.
Hey, in Winnipeg, it is so great to be here. It really is. It's great to be here. It wasn't fun getting here, though. It's not. Like, I don't know, like airports, I know we're going through some tough times with security, but can we all finally agree that there are no semi-albino looking terrorists? With red hair and emotional problems. You know, I have trouble dealing with my emotions. I do. And the guard's like, what are you taking with you? And I say, mainly shame and guilt. It's like, well, who packed your bags? I said, my parents. And I've had to live my life for my parents. I have, because they've financed it. You know, so my dad forced me to get an education. So I graduated with a BA in drama. That's like majoring in welfare. You know, and your guidance counselors, they don't tell you that either. Mine lied. Oh, drama's great, you'd be perfect. Because you're tall and gangly. LA would just eat you up. And now I think it's like a conspiracy. I'm like, do you work for student loan? Because now I owe them 45 grand. Oh my God, you try to reason with them on the phone. The guy sounds like the man from Saw. Where's my money? Dad, it's for you.
Okay, and that, of course, is my guest today. He's sitting in front of me. What can I say about this guy? He's a comedian. He's an actor. He's seen some success in this business. He's been around the block. He's done it all. All the prestigious things you can do in this country, he has done. Now he has gone to L.A. He's been to the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. He has a special Comedy Now on the Comedy Network. He's been to the Winnipeg Comedy Fest, the Halifax Comedy Fest. Like I said, he's done it. What you can do in this country, he has nailed. You've seen him in clubs, you've seen him in corporate events, on cruise ships, all over the place. And he's had some acting success as well. What can I say? He's sitting in front of me here now hailing from Los Angeles, Mr. Dylan Mandlsohn. How are you, Dill?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks for doing this.
It's a heck of an intro.
Yeah, there you go. Profesh here. This is how I do it. Profesh.
Yeah, that should be my opening line when I'm talking to women.
It should be.
Just that, all those credits.
So
what do you think, ladies?
So, speaking of women, how you doing?
Well, I've been better.
Yeah?
You know, yeah. I used your stage last night to completely empty my diary.
That's right. It was good.
Yeah, it sucks. I've just recently broke up with my girlfriend, and that's, you know, it's funny because every time I hear that, like I hear someone else say, I just broke up with my girlfriend, it's a very, it's almost like a cliche thing to say. We all hear that and be like, oh yeah, but I'm feeling that right now,
Yeah.
and it really sucks.
It's the worst thing I think you could go through. It's almost, I don't want to be insensitive and say it's almost worse than a death, but in a sense it is, because you get to still see that person live their life without you, and then just sort of move on eventually. And it's really hard at first. I'm not saying anything that's helping you by any means right now. But it helps, but it just keeps sucking, because then you go through these stages where then you'll run into her again and all this. We talked a little bit about it last night, but yeah, I feel you, man. It sucks. There's no other way, and the only thing you can do really is just muscle it through, like just muscle your way out of it.
I guess it's just an emotional flu. You know, it's. I just wish there was a thing to make all these terrible feelings go away. You know, I mean, yeah, like I guess distractions are good. Yeah, hopefully the healthier the better. But it's just one of those things. It's so hard to escape. There's triggers everywhere. Posters, songs on the radio, food, restaurants, just, you know, triggering feelings of guilt and feelings of regret and feelings of relief, and then feelings of, you know, and then sadness and frustration and confusion and doubt, and did I do the right thing, and is this you know, or you know, it's just one of those just a cocktail of terrible emotions.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm starting to think that there's more negative emotions to feel than there are positive.
Oh, 100%. And especially, I really liked your analogy you said last night about being on the other side of the fence. You knew you want to get to the other side. And then as soon as you get there, you do the hard work, because it is fucking hard to get out of a relationship. It's no easy. It's the hardest part. And then once you're on the other side, you start questioning, oh shit, you can't even remember what was on the other side, you know. You're just
that's true, you know. Being on the side of the fence where you're in the relationship, and it's like, okay, like I'm bothered by a lot of things. There's a lot of things that aren't happening, and they're not coming to any kind of fruition in a reasonable amount of time, and I feel like I need to get out of this so that I can find, you know, a higher level of awesomeness and happiness and things like that. And then after the breakup, I'm on the other side of the fence, and I cannot remember what the heck I was feeling on that side. I was just, I can't see over those hedges. Wait, well, why did I want to break up again? No, this is crazy. No, I miss you. I want to be with you. And then like my mind knows the answers, but my heart doesn't really want to listen to my mind. My heart's like, no, you need to go back. My brain's going, if you go back, you know you're going to be reminded of all the things that pulled you away from this. And I'm like, okay, but I don't really trust you. You know? You say you sound wise, but I don't know that I want to believe you. And but I you know, I stay the course, and it's you know, people say day by day, man, it's minute by minute, really. It's like, okay, that minute was okay, and then no, that's not a good minute. I didn't have a good minute right there. No, two of them, wow, 2 in a row is really terrible.
Yeah, it sucks. Well, and super cliche, but really the only thing you can do, the only thing on your side is time. It sucks. There's no other way around it. It's just it'll eventually pass. Hopefully, someone out there listening to this going through the same thing can help them. But so, what was your, not to get too detailed into it, but so you're in LA now most of the time. Was she here? Were you doing the long distance thing, or was she in LA with you? How did that work?
Yeah, you know, it wasn't. I mean, I would travel a lot. You know, whether it would be in LA or just anywhere on the road. it wasn't the distance that was the issue. It was just, I'm kind of making some bigger personal moves in my life right now. Like I just purchased a condo. Took all that cruise ship corporate money that I was, selling my soul for.
Yeah.
And after 2 years of just straight hard, soul sucking gigs. Decided to, buy a condo and I got a new car, and that's, what that kind of market can afford. I'm broke now. I've got no more money. Like, I'm like, can I get a fruit smoothie right now? I don't know if I can afford that. And so now that I've really cut the cords from my parents, and I'm 33 right now, and that's a little embarrassing to admit that, I'm sort of at this moment of my life really kind of financially completely independent. I'm paying for my own car insurance. I'm doing the whole nine is all me now. I'm vulnerable with it. I don't, I'm spending more money now than I've ever spent in my life without, with just about having enough if I'm really smart about it. And it's scary. And I don't know if I'm doing it right. I just know that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Could I be doing it better? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm learning to walk for the very first time right now in this particular, aspect of my life. Now, the girl that, I was with, who is an amazing person, really, like a very genuine person, but just a very controlling person and very kind of type A, very heavy-handed with the criticisms and judgments, and I always know better, and you don't know enough, and you're not doing it fast enough or efficient enough, and I just felt like a loser.
Right.
Like, I'm already telling myself, Jesus, I'm scared out of my mind here, and now I got you, who I'm talking to every single day, telling me what to do, criticizing the way I'm doing or not doing what I quote unquote should be doing, like getting dishes. Have you gotten your dishes yet for your place? Like, I know I don't have a dish yet, but it's okay because I'm surrounded by restaurants. I'm going to eat out for a second here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll get dishes when I'm ready. Well, did you get a vacuum cleaner? The place needs to be vacuumed. Well, okay. You know what? I just got into this hot tub.
Yeah.
I'm trying to just settle into the
Wrap
water right now,
Wrap your brain around even just buying the condo.
And I know that there's other people thinking, well, yeah, you might want to go out and get a dish or, clean the place up a bit. It's a pretty clean place. I didn't move into a pigsty, and I am aware that all those things need to happen, and I need to get proper shelving, and all the things that a household generally needs just to run smoothly. I don't have all of that just yet. And she was just really raining down hard. For some reason, the dishes were just a big deal. We even tried going out and buying the dishes, and the ones that I wanted were these really Cookie Monster blue dishes. I just liked them. Like, this would be fun to eat off of. And I got, she was saying, well, they're just, they're fashionable today, but they won't be fashionable tomorrow. And I'm thinking, these, like, what, like, we're not showcasing these at a fashion,
right,
spot. Like, I mean, you got to be kidding me. And then there was like, okay, well, those ones are a little too expensive also, like the other dishes you like. They were too expensive. These ones are a little too cheap. Like, we went to Walmart, and I was shopping at Walmart with her for dishes during a back-to-school sale special. It was rampant with children. Oh, that'll
end any relationship right there.
And crazy moms just running around this place. Literally, we were getting bumped into. It was gross. And I didn't like the dishes at Walmart. Like, they looked dirty.
Yeah.
Now, I know you can clean those dishes, but I mean, for God's sakes, dress them up. Put some soap on them.
Yeah.
They're on display to sale.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, these are, this will work. These are Walmart. There's dishes. They're only $3.97 each. You buy a set. I'm just like, I don't want these dishes. They're gross.
Yeah.
They really are. Like, I mean, this one here is cracked. How come this one's not $3.08? It was bad. It was just, I was feeling a lot. I had a lot of anxiety over it.
And it was just like, I need to do this my way. I need to grow up, and you're not letting me grow up.
Right.
Everything that I do is not a win for one reason, because she's already been there and done that. She owns her own house. She has a very nice corporate job. So she's kind of like, okay, well, that's good. I'm glad that you're doing that. But it's not super significant, because I also want children and a husband. And until you even step up to that, you're still not a man. And I just felt like, I was living, it seemed, in that shadow. Like, no matter how good I'm doing right now in this stage of my life, wasn't good enough because I didn't meet what she needed at her stage of her life.
Right.
And I just felt like we weren't on equal footing. I felt like a child in this relationship, and I don't want to be a child.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a parent.
Right.
I want to be a partner.
You want to be a man, yeah.
I want to be, someone where, we work together on stuff. I'm going to drop the ball. I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm also going to clean them up.
Right.
And I wasn't allowed to make mistakes with her. I wasn't allowed to fail. I wasn't allowed to do anything. And so it was it was filled with anxiety. I felt very trapped. And all the validation that I needed, I wasn't getting from her. Well, I mean, I would get validation from her, but it was like I couldn't validate myself. Because if I thought I did a pretty good job, and then she came around and went, you missed a spot. Right. If it was about cleaning, and it was like, oh, well, now I'm a loser. I didn't do it good enough. So it was just walls were caving in and getting closer. I felt very claustrophobic in this relationship, and I felt scared to talk to her about anything. Mm-hmm. Anything that would come up from business. I told her that I booked a comedy festival in British Columbia, which I'm going to do next week, in Fort St. John. And, they call me out of the blue. They're going to fly me over. It's going to pay a couple of grand. That's a big win. That's like, hey, cool, great. I called her to tell her the news, and she was just like, it sounds like a scam. Like, this isn't really going to happen. Did you get the flight contract? Are there any contracts where did you get the flight details? I'm just like,
you can't win.
Can we, I'm not saying we're like, okay, I just got the phone call for this, and yes, I don't have any of that, but and I'm not saying I'm gonna hey, let's sell the farm on this one, or let's crack open the expensive bottle of champagne, but can you just put a smile on your face and just say, hey, congratulations. If it was a scam, if it didn't go well, let's cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
Let's go, oh, really? That sucks. Oh, my God. I can't believe someone would do that. But that's not the case. I do now have my flight details. Right. I am going. It's going to be an awesome time. And I couldn't celebrate that moment with her. I want to be with someone that enjoys celebrating that moment.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that sucks, man. I feel for you. I guess they say a test of a relationship. The ultimate test is traveling, but I think now we know that it's shopping for dishes at Walmart during back to school. It's more about dishes. Yeah, it's all about the dish. So you bought a condo here. So you split your time between here and LA, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I bought a condo because of the lifestyle. I don't have to, if I am gone for a while, I don't have to worry about the grass growing too long or snow piling up or the mail, getting too much on the, neighbors knowing that I'm gone kind of thing. I can just lock the door and leave.
Right.
And if I want to sublet it, I'm in an area where it's a pretty easy rental, so it just seemed to make sense to, get the condo in that area.
Yeah, it sounds good, man. I just want to touch a little bit about something you said. You mentioned your cruise ship and corporate money enabled you to buy your condo. Talk a little bit about, because it's intriguing. Some comedians will be listening to this. Talk about cruise ships, and I want to get to. You had a really good story about doing a Disney cruise ship at one point, and you got in trouble. Tell the audience. I love that story.
God, where do you begin? Well, why don't I begin? So I was living in Los Angeles for 3 years. When I was done, when I had left that particular session of Los Angeles, like when I gave up the house, the place I was staying at, I was in debt $20,000. Mm-hmm. And
sorry to interrupt, which sounds a lot. It's all perspective, but if you think about it, 20 grand is really not a lot. Like kids now come out of a university with, $80 grand in debt with no job. So
That's-
20 is a
that's
drop
true.
in the bucket, really.
Well, you know what it was? It was 3 years. I had lost my representation. My O1 visa had run out, and my apartment was the lease was ending. I was in debt $20,000, and without any, and only going to get deeper. And I thought to myself, I really want to start making money. I hate this feeling of being in debt and going nowhere and feeling like nothing is happening, which I'm sure a lot of people in LA and New York
Sure.
and Toronto, Vancouver, we all sort of feel this way. And it's a very scary feeling. So I thought, I know I somewhere inside my talents, I could write something of corporate. I could do corporate. And I thought, if I can get into this cruise ship market, I can start recouping my debts and start paying off credit cards and also too, I wasn't completely financially independent at that time. I was taking money from my parents, and I'm thinking, I'm spending my parents' retirement money. I'm spending their, and I just felt like a terrible person, and I just felt irresponsible. Again, it's that feeling of being a child when I don't want to be, and I didn't feel like I even owned my life, and I had nothing to show for it. Anyone says, "Hey, what's going on in LA? Things are good." I'm like, not really, and I'm not making money, and I don't have any real opportunities happening right now. It sucks. So I happened to be at a comedy club in LA one night, and I came across a person that books Disney talent. They weren't talking to me. I overheard this in a conversation. And I popped my head into this conversation, actually kind of shortly after they were done talking, and I lied. I said, I'm really good at performing. Like, I could do Disney. I could do Disney Cruise. Just a stone lie.
Which you got to do sometimes in this business and figure it out.
And this rep said, "Okay, well, here's my card, here's my number, and shoot me an email and send me a clip." So I sent this woman, it was a girl. I sent her a clip, and she said, "Not exactly what we're looking for." And I was like, well, obviously, no surprise there. I ended up getting a break. I don't know how this happened, but literally like a brick falling out of the sky. I got a phone call from a guy in New Jersey saying, I like your stuff online. I pitched you to Holland America Cruise Line. We got you a Holland American cruise line over Christmas and New Year's.
Crazy.
Would you like to do it? I was like, oh my God, yes.
Just out of the blue.
Literally, like,
And
oh my God.
And you're in a good position because he already likes you. You don't have to change much in your act. You just show up and do your thing.
I'm
You
not
don't have to
auditioning
expect-
anymore.
Right.
This is in the bag. All you need to do is say yes. So I said yes. And by the way, the 2 weeks that I worked on that cruise on Holland America, I made $6,500.
Amazing.
So I was like, what? Now, the reason for that's not what generally cruises pay necessarily. It was just because it was a Christmas, New Year's, they paid a little bit more.
Now, how many shows would you be doing like that on a 2-week run like that?
On that particular cruise line, I did 1 show a week.
So 2 shows, $6,500.
Yeah. Now, but here's the thing, though. When I did Holland America, I got off stage after my first show, and it just went okay. Mm-hmm. It wasn't super.
Because the audience is mixed. Like, do you get like young people? Like, how young?
They told me on Holland America, you are our adult entertainer.
Okay.
We will have stuff for children. We will
Right.
have stuff, for the whole family. But you will represent entertainment for the adults on this ship. Mm-hmm. When I got on stage, and keep in mind, I have to do 45 minutes, and it's in the theater at this particular point. And Holland America is generally for seniors and families, but more seniors.
Right.
So I go on stage and I prepare an adult set for 45 minutes. It kind of seems easy. It's like half a corporate type of a set. You don't be too vulgar, but don't worry about being so clean either. I get on stage, and sitting in the front row is a 10-year-old girl next to her 8-year-old brother in the front row.
Perfect, your demographic.
Now, I can't, now this is the theater setting. I can't see who's in the theater. I said, are there any other children in here? And it was like Chuck E. Cheese just went nuts. It was, erupted with children. And I'm on stage. I have 45 minutes of dick jokes right now. Are you kidding me? Yeah. So, and also too, at this particular point, I hadn't really perfected or crafted the corporate set that I have now.
Right.
So I'm not really good at corporate.
What's the timeline? When was this?
This was 2000 and I want to say 10 into 11. Mm-hmm. So it just went okay because I was doing a lot of crowd work. I was really just, gear shifting, editing while I was on stage, different jokes. When I got off stage, some dude from Kentucky, a police officer, literally accused me of sleeping with his wife. I mean, as ridiculous and as arbitrary as that sounds to this story, because there's nothing chronologically leading up to it, he literally just looked at me and said, "You slept with my wife," as if he was just a crack addict, decided in his crazy mind, "You slept with my wife."
And you're on stage?
No, I just got off stage.
Got off stage. Okay.
Now, I had been standing next to who his wife was at the time. She saw my show. She went in by herself. This guy didn't see my show. He doesn't know that I'm the comedian on the cruise ship. I'm standing next to... She's only shaking my hand saying, "I really liked your show." Right. They obviously had been arguing prior to the show and throughout the cruise. And I guess he had some level of jealousy or whatever.
Yeah, I'd say.
So he just happens to see me dressed in show clothes, standing next to this girl, shaking her hand. We're just kind of smiling. She has a little bit of a flirtatious kind of like, "Really liked your show." Nothing too crazy, but she's just making it aware that she may find me a bit of attractive, or there's some nostalgia for the fact that she just saw me perform on stage. He comes by and he's just livid. So security gets involved. I get accused of sleeping with this guy's wife, and I'm supposed to do another Holland American cruise right after this, but they kick me off.
No shit.
Yeah.
Like that night.
The show that I did for Holland America was the last night of the cruise. Okay. And they said, we need to do an investigation here, and you are now guilty until proven innocent. The opposite. And we can't take this chance.
And they take that shit seriously because, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're off, when you're not performing, you have to stay in the quarter, you can't mingle with people, they say, right? Is that true?
You can't mingle with people. There's rules like you can't sleep with anybody. Right. You can't sleep with the passengers and stuff like that. And when you are a celebrity and there's that sort of, you're far away from home. I mean, it obviously happens a lot with the entertainment there. I just wanted to play, just good boy Roy here. I did stay in my room, in my cabin, and it was horrible.
What do you mean it happens with the entertainment? I mean, in between, like
there's a lot, entertainers, they sleep with the passengers.
Oh, okay, right.
And there's strict rules. Don't do that.
Right.
Now, so the thing is when they're seen fraternizing with them, there's just a very watchful eye. It's like they don't mind if they talk to the passengers, but they're like, keep it real political. Be just very diplomatic. It's like if they see one of the comedians or any entertainers having a drink with, a group of people, they're just very monitored. Mm. And I didn't even want to be monitored. I just wanted to play the best behavior. Right. I just wanted to be invited back. This money was like insane to make to me, that I'm like, there's nothing I'm going to do. There's no temptation on here that's going to take me away from the money aspect of this. And wouldn't you know it, I apparently slept with this guy's wife the second I get off stage.
That's crazy.
So I get fired from Holland America.
And so you had done the 2 weeks at this point?
No, I only did the 1 week.
Oh, so you were about to go
I was about to do the second week, and I got fired. But I did tape my set.
Oh, there you go.
I sent that set back to the Disney rep. And the Disney rep said, "This isn't exactly what we're looking for still. However, do you have anything else?" So she didn't say, she extended an olive branch. She didn't close the door. And I just said, yes, I do have other things. And so we started working with each other building the sets. It took 6 months to craft this set. I would tape it on stage, send it back to her. Tape it on stage, send it back to her. She would say things like, this is a little too edgy. You have to keep in mind Disney isn't just for children, but it has a very, like, would Jesus laugh at that kind of feel.
Right.
It has to be real church-like comedy.
Right.
As corporate as it gets.
Even more so, would you say?
Yeah. Like, for example, I was doing a bit where I was substitute teaching, and this one kid at the back loses it on me. He's like, yo, who's this tall freak, yo? And she was like, you can't do that on Disney. Can't say tall freak. You can't even that accent would suggest it's just a little too confrontational.
Right.
Even if you're doing it well and it does come across funny, you don't want to showcase with it.
This is where the soul-sucking element comes out of it. Because
So
then you're not being yourself on stage. You have to...
Well, it was one of those where I finally did the showcase, and I did well, and I got the cruise ship. When I got on the cruise ship, every single time I got off stage, I would get slapped on the wrist for something. No matter how, and they were laughing, by the way. Like, the crowds were digging me, but no matter how well it seemed I was doing, there were people watching not happy who belonged to the cruise, the staff. For example, I would get off stage, and one of the cruise ship directors said, yeah, you said Jesus 4 times. They were counting how many times I said Jesus. And it wasn't like, oh, Jesus Christ. It was like, oh, you're an accountant, Jesus, that's cool. It was like you wouldn't have even heard me say it.
Right.
It was, what did I say? One time that I'm too tall to play Donald Duck. I said this on stage. I don't know why I said it.
This is the story I'm referring to. I remember you telling me in the green room in Ajax.
Yeah. And the cruise ship director after the show came up to me after I said this on stage. And again, I can't remember why I said it.
Did you say I play a better Goofy or something like that?
Something like that. I would play a better Goofy and stuff. And he said, listen, you need to know that you're not, you're not too tall to play Donald Duck because you're not Donald Duck.
Right.
That over there walking is Donald Duck.
Right.
And I said, you mean the dude in the costume? You know there's a guy inside that costume, right? And he was like, yeah, but we don't want to break the illusion. I'm like, you think people believe that's the real Donald Duck? Yeah. I'm like, what, are you serious? Now, and having said that, he was just like, had a stern face, like, you don't want to argue with me on this one. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I didn't realize how serious it was until at the time I started hitting on Ariel and she wouldn't break character.
Right.
That was really bizarre. Like when I walked up to Ariel and I said, like if I just opened up kind of like Joey Tribbiani, I'm like, hey, how you doing? And she's like, swimmingly. I'm like, what? Swimmingly? What? It was just a very, I was trying to like, you don't need to do the Ariel thing with me. I'm a comedian on the ship. I perform there. And she was just like looking at me like, no one told you the rules, man. Like I can't do, like she didn't say a word, but she just stared at me like her eyes were darting back and forth. Like, you can't talk to me this way. Like, they're going to throw me off the ship. I'm not a real fish.
And they frown upon mingling with passengers, but what about other workers, entertainers and stuff? Is there like a lot of interfucking with the staff?
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, I would bet.
There is. But that even gets political too, because the cruise director who and other people of power on the cruise, I mean, they all want the hottest person that they can find. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of gay people on that boat too. So there's a lot of sensitivity to it,
right?
There's a lot of jealousy. It becomes the staff on a cruise becomes a small town,
right?
And everyone knows who the dancers are. We know who the chefs are. They know who the entertainment crew are, and everyone knows each other's business. A lot of people are bunking up with each other too. It's a big roommate situation.
Right.
So gossip spreads throughout the ship like crazy.
And do you all stay like in the hull? I just picture everyone staying like in the hull of the ship. This like how is it?
The bottom.
Yeah,
the bottom of the
very
ship.
Bottom, and it's just the entertainers and staff.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the typical stint for like? Okay, so you would go for a couple of weeks, but like a chef on there, or a waiter, or a piano player. Like it's all different?
8 months. About 8 months.
Holy shit! Yeah, I guess there would be a lot of fucking with the staff. I mean, what else are you gonna do? You're out at sea. You're alone with these people. Why not? I bet there's a lot of drinking and stuff after hours, or is that
not only is there a lot of drinking, but in the crew bar, they have a bar specifically for crew. The booze in that crew bar is $1.25 for beer.
No shit.
Yeah. Like you could literally
Staff
write on your
discount.
things to do list is at the end, like, become an alcoholic
Right.
and have it done by the end of the day. I mean, they like to buy a bucket of booze, which they do a lot, is under $10.
That's crazy.
So, you know, it's, it is nuts.
And you don't drink, so
I don't drink,
Right.
but you know, like I'm around people that look green,
Right.
you know, and
Did you hook up with people on the ship?
yeah, I did,
Yeah.
you know, I did a couple of times, but more not on Disney and not on Holland America.
What was it? What
On
was,
Holland America, I might as well have.
Yeah, whatever. So whatever. Okay, so back to that. Just to you were guilty and proven innocent. Were you ever proven innocent? Like
I was. They, you know, I said, you guys have tapes all over the ship. Show me where I'm spending any time with this woman, aside from the 5 minutes after my show. And they went to the tapes, and it took them about 2 weeks to a month to do this. And they realized he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And unfortunately, at that time, you know, the fact that I had no reputation, I had built nothing with this cruise line or
Right.
the bookers. They just said, "Oh, the guy goes on a cruise ship and he starts sleeping with people's wives."
Right. Right.
Just that, just hearing that is enough for bookers to go, where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't want to have anything to do with this guy.
Right.
It just simply, piano fell on my head. This guy walked by and you slept with my wife, and that was the end of it.
And so that was that. Then you go to Disney. How long do you stay at Disney? And did you go elsewhere after that, or was that pretty much it?
No, I did 3 Disney cruise ships, and they took me all over the world. I mean, my first Disney cruise, they flew me into Nice, France, and then I ended up in Barcelona, Spain. And then the second Disney cruise I did was the Alaskan cruise, and then the third one was the islands, like Bahamas and stuff
Right.
like that.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
You know what? It would have been awesome if I shared it with another person, whether it be a buddy or a girl at the time. I was single at the time, and you know. And the other thing that would made it better is if I wasn't completely terrible and getting slapped on the wrist after every show. I mean,
Right.
I'm showing up to work. Yeah, the weather's amazing, and yeah, the scenery is awesome, but you know, I'm being judged and criticized for what I'm
Yeah.
doing. I'm there to work.
Yeah, really the only part of that sounds awesome is the scenery and the
Yeah.
geography of it all. But all the other shit just
Yeah.
sounds, like you said, soul sucking and just sort of just hard. Like you gotta adjust. It's all new.
And also, too, I'm aware that there's a stigma in the comedy community about
That's
cruise
right.
ship comics. Like,
That's
that's
right.
not lost on me either. And here I am, you know, and you know, cruise ship comics are also painted to be, you know, a little, you know, older. And I'm starting cruise ships at 31 years old.
Right.
You know, so it's like, Jesus, what's Dylan doing, man? He's like, you know,
He's
selling
retiring
out.
already. He's done.
Yeah.
So 31 doing cruise ships. So you must have started comedy at a pretty young age, because I remember seeing you for the first time in Moncton, I think back in 2006 or 7 at the Hubcap. And I was just starting back then, and you had, it seemed, I mean, to do that festival, you must have been in the game already a few years. You're 33. I'll be 31 in a month. So what's the timeline there? Like, how old were you when you started? How long have you been doing stand up?
I started when I was 17 years old.
Oh shit. Okay.
So I'm 33 now. I think so. March, I think I'll hit 17 years of doing stand up.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've been around the block.
Yeah.
And what's going on these days? What do you got? Anything to plug? I mean, I could talk to you forever.
Yeah. Well, coming up, I've got so I'm doing the Fort St. John, BC Comedy Festival. After that, in October 1st to the 5th, I'll be at the Cabo Comedy Festival, and then Montreal Yuck Yucks, and then after that, I'll be at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club at the MGM Grand from October 20th to the 26th, and yeah, that's sort of the up and coming
So
stuff.
just doing the thing.
Just doing it.
And website?
My website is funnydylan.com.
Funny Dylan. That's a good one.
Is that a good one?
Yeah,
You know,
you got
I
a good
thought
one.
maybe sometimes funnydylan.com.
Ah,
should have
that's
been more
fine. Yeah, that's a
accurate.
lot of pressure right there.
Yeah, I know.
Hopefully
Funny
people
Dylan.
meet you
I don't know.
before. Yeah, hopefully
just-
they meet you before they see
I
that.
was just trying to come up with something that that people just could remember the first time I say it.
Right.
You know, because I originally had DylanComic.com, and I don't. People are Dylan comedian. Was the comedian Dylan? How
Right.
do you spell Dylan?
Right.
You know, so I just said funnydylan.com, DYLAN, obviously. But Yeah, and I just thought it was it's sort of an easier name to remember.
Yeah, it is for sure. With my name, Julian Dion, I mean, I get that butchered all the time. I literally bought every spelling possibility that you could think of with my name, like first and last. So I own like 14 or 15 domains, just so
Yeah.
juliandion.com, and you just go there. Listen, I could talk to you all day. I'll have you in again here for sure, because there's so much more we can dig into. 17 years in the biz. Thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it, and just watch your head.
Sure, will do. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, buddy. Take care. Well, there you have it. Episode number 3 is in the books. Thank you for listening and hanging in there. Thanks to my guest, Dylan Mandlsohn, for dropping by the studio and sharing a little bit of his story with us. Thanks to my producer, Adam Fox. Thanks to my sound engineer, Miles Lacroix. Episode number 4 comes at you next Tuesday, September 30th, with my guest, Graham Kay, a very talented and funny comedian. Check that out. And once again, thank you. I appreciate you a lot. I want to hear from you, actually. Email pod at jdcomedyhour.com. Tell me about yourself. I'll share it if you want me to. Are you really listening to this overseas? That's crazy. That blows my mind. If you are, drop me a line. And be sure to subscribe on iTunes and rate and comment that shit. That cranks up the ratings and puts us in the top of comedy listings. I would appreciate it if you did that. Go to jdcomedyhour.com. Like the Facebook page, facebook.com/jdcomedyhour. Follow on Instagram at jdcomedyhour, as well as Twitter at jdcomedyhour. Hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Again, oh mom, I love you. Watch your head.
Wandering eyes and itchy feet. I'm just a thin